Should we get started? I think so. My name is Petra, and we are here today for the Study at Umeå University webinar. I have many colleagues with me. I have Francine, Gwen,
Hello.
I have my colleague David, who's going to join us a bit later. And then we have two students with us. We have Noah,
Hello.
and then we have Thomas, who's
Hi,
still,
everyone.
yeah, hi everyone. Great. And today we're going to talk about studies at Umeå University and what you need to know for the next intake, autumn 2025. And today's program, we start out to talk a little bit about Umeå University, and then we have the chance to talk to two of our students. And Gwen will continue and talk about scholarships and tuition fees. And Francine would talk about the admission process, how to apply, enter requirements, and she will also show some of our web pages and how to navigate your way to find the program that suits you best. And in the end, we will answer questions. You can write a question anytime today as well in the Q&A, and we will, try to pick them up whenever it's possible and suitable. This webinar will be recorded, and we will post a link to a page called Meet Umeå University in the chat. So you don't have to memorize everything that you learned today. You can go back and you can watch this webinar again. So Umeå University, here's a map, and you can see where Umeå is located in Sweden. It's up in the north of Sweden, and we're really happy about that. We have all 4 seasons here, a lot of snow, a wonderful summer. And yeah, I know that Gwen, you're really looking forward to the winter, right?
Yes, I love the winter here. I think it's the most beautiful thing in the whole entire world. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
incredible.
And where are you from the beginning?
I'm from Wales in the UK.
Okay, good to know. And Noah, what do you think about the winter?
I think it's also the best thing in Umeå, at least, especially because the landscapes is just so beautiful and white and clear. Even at night, it feels like it's still day because of all the reflection from the snow. It's really beautiful.
Wonderful. Thank you for your input. So we have over 37,000 students here at Umeå University, and we offer over 40 degree programs and taught in English. We have 2 bachelor programs, and the other programs are on master level. We have 4 different faculties and students from 60 different nationalities studying with us. And this is the main campus that you can see. It's a really big campus. And what you also see here in the background is our statue, which is Aurora, and also it's with the Aurora in the background. So I just love this image. It's a pond in the middle, which you can see to the left picture. And this campus is really close to the city center, so it's walking distance everywhere. We also have another campus. It's called Umea Arts Campus. It's even closer to the city center. It's located by the Umeå River. If you are going to study art, design, or architecture, this is where you are going to study. We also have a very good museum, Bildmuseet, for contemporary art, and a science center. And this is the way we have categorized our programs for you to be able to find them a bit easier. And Francine will later on show you on the website how we use this structure to find our programs. But what you can see is that we cover a lot of different areas at Umeå University. And this is something we are so proud of. World's most satisfied international students. So there is a survey called the International Student Barometer, and we took We were part of this last fall, 2023, and there were 5 main categories, and we were number 1 globally in 3 of them: living, support, and overall satisfaction. And there were 137 universities worldwide taking part in this. And we also got the overall happiness globally number 1. And it's really wonderful. We're really happy about this. And one thing that we got really good marks on was modern facilities. I think 99% in the survey answered that they were really satisfied with the campus buildings, for example. And then we got also a really good response to social activities. So I just want to mention that we have a buddy program, and in this buddy program, all international students can join. They can meet Swedish people who are buddies, taking care and getting to know all the international students. And there are activities every week, both for the different groups and for everyone taking part of the program. And the city of Umeå is one of the fastest growing cities in Sweden. As you can see here on the slide, 54% of the residents were not born here. I think this also means that this city becomes a very open-minded city, if you can say so. People come with different perspectives, and it's not that hierarchic. It's really laid back, and you can be who you want to be here. So that's wonderful. Also, we have the nature just around the corner. So it's a rich cultural life here with lots of different festivals going on, plus the nature just really accessible. And of course, we need to mention that we had a guest professor in Emmanuelle Charpentier, and 2020 she received a Nobel Prize in chemistry for her CRISPR-Cas9 tool. And she is a lot of times mentioning how much she misses the environment at Umeå University, how creative it was to come here, and that it was really good research environment, which I think also is part of the openness that I talked about and mentioned before. Also, a lot of our students are really happy about our training facilities here at university. It's called ICSU, and it's one of Europe's largest training facilities on campus. You can do basically anything here. Swimming, climbing, a lot of group activities, and a wonderful beach volleyball field inside, which you can see on the picture. Then I'd like to mention a little bit about housing. We do offer housing at the university for exchange students and tuition fee paying students. Then it's room in a corridor, it's furnished, close to campus. It's for a period of maximum 2 academic terms. So if you are a tuition fee paying student, or if you're a European student, you still need to be queuing for the different housing companies here in Umeå. So I would really suggest that, straight ahead now, sign up for Bostaden and Heimstaden. And you can find the links in the chat. And if you are from outside of EU, some countries sometimes don't have access to the different websites. Then if you could please use VPN, then you should be able to get access to them. Okay, so we have Noah with us today. And Noah, you're studying I can't pronounce it.
Molecular
biology. Yeah. What is it like to study in Umeå?
I think it's very well free in terms of choosing courses. So I am currently doing a master, and I had 2 mandatory courses to go to, and then I could just pick any courses I wanted to fill up the rest of the points I had to fill for my master, which I think is amazing because then I was able to explore different subjects that I wouldn't have done otherwise if I wasn't here. And also, it's very nice in terms of space. You can study in. I don't have to stay home alone. I can just go to the library or any of the other building. There's a lot of spaces you can just sit at and work in peace. It's very nice. And also the professors are very helping. I've only had very nice professors so far. They're very they're really here to ask to help you answer to your questions, and it's very nice. Honestly, it's just I wouldn't say no stress because I still have a lot of assignments to do. Like it's a master, of course, but still, I think I'm less stressed than I would have been in my home country, for example.
How come you choose to come to Umeå?
Well, partly because of the freedom of choice of courses, yes, but also because I just saw the campus and it felt so cozy, I would say, with the pond and just the snow everywhere. It just felt like an experience I wanted to leave, especially because the winter is so extreme here. It's quite fun to live in such a extreme weather.
Yeah, so before you came, like, what were your expectations, and did they come true? Like, because this is your second year here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My expectation was like a lot of snow, and yes, they came true. But when it comes to the university, I expected it to be more laid back than my home university, and that's exactly what I got. I did not feel pressured or belittled by the professor because I did not know something. They just tried to help me understand. So
Yeah.
it's very nice.
So a lot of international students are mentioning to us that it's different in Sweden in many ways because you do a lot of group work, for example, and you have to study a lot on your own instead of having classes, and you don't have to like memorize a lot of things, but you have to come up with your own conclusions to different matters. Is that different for you as well, or how?
Yeah, I have never done as many group work as I've done here, to be honest, and I've done so many presentations too, which is great because it's a very good way to train. Now it's super easy for me to make presentations because I've done so many, and it's also good because you have me personally with my courses. I've had classes in the morning from like 9 to 12 or 10 to 12, and then I have the afternoon to do the work I've been given or just I don't know, sport or whatever hobby I have. So it's a very nice tempo, I would say. It's not I'm
Okay.
not spending 6 hours in class listening to someone talk.
Yes, it's a good mixture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And a good study environment. That's great. Do we have Thomas here as well?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes,
Hi,
you're
everyone
here.
again.
Your
Yes.
camera wasn't working, but that's
Yeah,
fine.
it's nice still.
Yeah, okay. And you're studying constitutional law and human
Human
rights.
rights, exactly. Yes.
Yes. And you just you arrived and you started this semester, right?
Yes, exactly. This is my first semester at Umeå University. Yes.
Yes. What's your experience
I would
of studying
say,
here?
yeah, it's somehow similar to whatever Noah actually just explained. The teaching method actually, it depends, or it's dependent on research and teamwork. So basically, when it comes to research, you will have to do a lot of work alone. You have to read for yourself somehow. And then when it comes to the teamwork, you will be given assignments like to do with your, let's say, your group mates. There's always this idea of a pre-discussion before your seminars. So you get to prepare for your seminars, you get to prepare in a group environment, you learn how to work in a group environment as well. And then again, when it comes to the teaching, there is nothing like something wrong. You would say something wrong or right. You have to do your research, you have to discuss in your group, and then you come up with conclusions. So there is no this binary box where someone would condemn you that you said something wrong or right. So as long as you're studying, doing research, and coming up with conclusions, then you're totally fine, doing well.
Okay, that's wonderful to hear.
Yeah.
What do you do in your free time? than when you're here studying?
I love reading actually. So I do reading. So if I'm not reading my school books, I'm reading novels or I'm reading something else away from my academic papers. So yeah, the only thing that I keep doing is reading. Sometimes I do some sport. I go for a run or I go for a long walk for 1 hour or 2 hours. And then I have to say here, Umeå is really a beautiful city. You get to walk around, discover the city whenever that you like. So be it evening time or morning time or afternoon time. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. Noah, what
Yeah.
do you do in your free time?
I either go to Iksu. It's very nice. It has a very big climbing gyms. If there's any fans out there. Also, I just take walks quite a lot. I live right by the lake. There's a humongous lake in Umeå on the east side of the city. I live right by it. There's a beach. It's very beautiful, and I can walk around. It's very nice. Or I just go in one of the many cafes there is in the city center. They're very sweet and cozy.
That's great. And the lake, I know it's quite famous also for watching out the aurora.
Yes, I
Have
have
you
been
have you
there.
been there?
Yes, in winter, the lake is completely frozen and covered in snow, and you can just stand in the middle of the lake and watch the auroras. It's beautiful.
Oh, that's great. Thomas, have you seen it yet? Have you been out to Nydala Lake?
Yes, I have been there a few times actually doing some reading as usual. So yeah, but this is my first time. I haven't witnessed winter yet, so I would say I'm expecting to be a beautiful scene exactly. So over the river or the Northern Lights, let's say. I saw the Northern Lights, I believe, 2 times. It already happened back in September, by the end of September. So it was just a beautiful scene to see. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm glad. I know that there are many international students longing to see the Northern Lights.
Exactly.
Yes, so great having you join this webinar. As you can see here on the slide, chat with our students. Thomas and Noah are our ambassadors, and you can continue, to ask them more questions after this webinar or tomorrow or next week, And if you go on umu.sc study, and we will also post a direct link in the site, and then you can just start chatting. So we would just encourage you to do that. And Thomas and Noah, you're welcome to stay during the webinar if you like, and then people can ask you more questions in the end if so. But thank you so much, and we will continue with Gwen.
Hello. So I'll be speaking today about tuition fees and scholarships. So the next slide. So this is some information about who's required to pay tuition fees. It's citizens from outside the EU, EEA, or Switzerland. And this is kind of to do with citizenship. So if you hold a passport from outside the EU, EEA, or Switzerland, then you have to pay tuition fees. There are some exceptions to this general rule. And if you believe that you are exempt from paying tuitions, you're going to need to upload supporting documentation to university admissions before the deadline. And you can find important dates and information about the deadline on university admissions. I believe the link will be posted soon. So here is information about how much you pay. The screenshot on the left is directly from university admissions, where you can see for the master's program in biomedical engineering, the first tuition fee installment is 83,200 SEK, and then the total tuition fee is 332,800 SEK. And then the same information is on our website, which is on the screenshot here to the right. So as you saw there, we have a fee for the whole program, but even for installments or for semester installments. So this is the total amount of the program divided into separate installments, and it's one for each semester. So if you study a 2-year program, the total will be the total fee divided by 4, and that will be your fee per semester. And the invoices for new students are sent out after the final notification of selection results are published. The notification of selection results is your admissions letter, which can be downloaded directly from university admissions. You should receive your invoice shortly after you've been admitted. And instructions on how to pay are included on the invoice and also on our websites. And we've even created an instructional video on how to pay your tuition fee. The due date for autumn 2025 is the 1st of June, and we recommend that you pay the invoice as soon as possible, as you can't apply for a residence permit until your invoice is paid. So we really recommend that as soon as you receive that invoice, you pay immediately, because then you can begin the application for a residence permit as soon as possible. And here is information about the Swedish Migration Agency. Again, apply as soon as you receive your tuition fee payment confirmation. We say this because the processing times at the Swedish Migration Agency are quite long. So when you pay your tuition, we try and upload the information to our system Lardoc within 1 week of you paying. And then as soon as we've uploaded that information into the system, you'll then be able to download your confirmation of payment. So just wait for that, basically email notifying you that we've uploaded the information to your page on Lardoc. There's an opportunity to apply for 2-year residence permits for studies at programs that are 2 years or 4 semesters. You can also still apply for a 1-year semester and then extend, a 1-year residence permit and then extend it to become a 2 years. But we recommend, if you have the means, to apply for a 2-year residence permit, because then you don't even have to worry about it. You know that you're here for 2 years. And Study in Sweden have a very, very useful YouTube video about residence permits. So I recommend that you go and watch that video. They'll explain it much better than I can. And if you have any questions, you should always contact the Swedish Migration Agency directly. Umeå University can't contact the Swedish Migration Agency on your behalf. It's your responsibility to contact them. So please just bear that in mind and contact them directly if you have any questions. Yes, and now onto scholarships. And the information that I'll be sharing here is mostly about Umeå University scholarships. There'll be a little information at the end about other scholarships, but we're responsible for giving information about our scholarships. So our scholarships are available to students of our English language programs, to tuition fee paying students of our English language programs. And the programs can be either at a bachelor's level or at master's level. The scholarship covers a partial or full tuition fee, like a waiver for your partial or full tuition fee. And eligible students will be sent an invitation on how to apply in early February. There's more information to come about what is an eligible student. The selection is based on academic merit, and further information will be provided on the invitation, and it's also on our website. So as promised, here's information about the eligibility for scholarships. You must be a citizen of a country outside the EU or EEA in Switzerland, as it's you who pays tuition fees. You must complete your application for studies before the application deadline, and the application fee must be paid by the deadline stated on university admissions. And you as a student must have Umeå University ranked as your first-hand choice on university admissions. And this also has to be the program that you apply for. So even if you apply for 3 or 4 different programs at Umeå University, you can only apply for a scholarship for the first program. So it must be your first-hand program choice on university admissions. And here's some information about other scholarships that you can also apply to. The Swedish Institute has some scholarships, as well as Study in Sweden. And we also recommend that you look for opportunities in your home country. We unfortunately can't share any information about those. It's your responsibility to look at the opportunities for you in your home country, but definitely check out the Swedish Institute website. They provide a really great opportunity. And if you're wondering that this is a lot of information for you to remember, here are 2 very, very useful websites for you. The first is the International Student Guide, where we provide information about residence permits, about insurance, about, you can see here, social life, groceries, housing. This is a very, very useful website. And then on the right here, we have our tuition fees and funding website. I believe the websites that would be of most interest to you guys is the new student page, as well as the scholarships page. So definitely go check out those websites and just take in as much information as you can.
Great, thank you, Gwen. And do we have any questions directly to Gwen right now?
I'll have a look in the Q&A as well.
Yeah, have a look in the Q&A. Yeah, please do. Okay, welcome, Francine.
All right, now I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about the application process and documenting your eligibility and so on and so forth. So this is a glimpse of very important dates and deadlines of the first admission round for the autumn semester 2025. So the applications are now open and the application deadline is the 15th of January. 2025. And then you have up until the 3rd of February to document to send in all your supporting documents and to pay the application fee deadline. So this is very important because if you don't pay your application fee and you are obliged to pay so, your application will not be processed. So make sure that you pay the application fee if you're a citizen from outside the EU, EEA, and Switzerland. And then on 27th of March, we'll have the admission results for masters. And if you're applying for one of our bachelor programs, the admission results for that will come on April 3rd. And then if you have everything in order, you will be able to start your semester on the 1st of September. We'll be looking very forward to meeting you here for our orientation. Right. So a lot of people ask about what are the entry requirements for master's programs. So we have both general entry requirements and specific entry requirements. When it comes to general entry requirements, it means that you need to have a bachelor's degree or that you're about to conclude your bachelor's degree, that you're in the last year of your bachelor's degree. And then each program might or might not have specific entry requirements and what those can be. Well, for instance, it could be that you have a certain amount of credits in a specific subject area, that you have a major in your degree, or that you have to submit a portfolio, or that you have study courses in different areas as well. So this could vary from program to program. So it's very important that you check the program that you're applying for at the program's webpage to see what are the specific entry requirements for the programs that you are applying for. Right. We also have English language requirements because all of these programs, they are taught entirely in English. And you need to check if you will fulfill the English language requirements and you have to document it. And to do so, I recommend that you do this check in 3 steps. First, you have to check if you fulfill the English entry requirements through your upper secondary school studies. Some countries, if you have studies from some countries, it might be that you don't need to do a test or anything else. Just your upper secondary studies will be enough to fulfill the English language requirements. And I will show you a little bit further how you can verify that. If you do not fulfill the entry requirements in English through your upper secondary studies, then you can go ahead and check if your university studies would be grounds to be fulfilling the English entry requirements. And then it will be specified also in the country page from the country that you have your education on. I'm going to show you a little bit later how to do that too. Don't worry. And then if you don't fulfill by these 2 first steps, then everyone can meet the requirements by achieving the required results in international recognized English tests such as IELTS, TOEFL, and other tests that we accept. And at University Admissions, which is the main application portal, we're going to talk about that a little later on. You can see which tests we accept and what are the results that you need if you need to do a test, right? What is important is that right now, you could already start checking if you fulfill the English requirements by your upper secondary school records or by your previous academic studies. And if you don't, it's important that you plan ahead if you need to do an English test, because this documentation is due on February 3rd. So it's important that you plan ahead, because sometimes those tests, they can take a long time for the results to be published and available, right? Okay, requirements. We're talking a lot about requirements. What does it mean for you? I'm gonna navigate through those web pages a little later. But if you check university admissions webpage, there will be two different paths. The first path is if you're applying to masters, and the second path is if you're applying to bachelors. And then there will be a list of steps that you need to fulfill to conclude your application. But one of those steps is called provide application documents. At this link, you have a specification of everything you need to think and which kind of documents you need to submit and how, if you need a translation for your documents or not. So everything will be specified at this page where it states provide application documents, either for masters or for bachelors. Well, application step by step. The first thing you need to do is create an account at universityadmissions.sc. This is the national application portal where you can apply for studies at university level in the whole Sweden. So even if you started your search at Umeå University's website, when you click on apply now for a program, it's going to lead you straight to university admissions. And then you can continue your application from there. And if you start your search at university admissions and you want to know more about our programs, then there will be a link connecting to Umeå University's website. So wherever you start, your application will be done at university admissions, but the web pages are interconnected in that sense. You can choose a maximum of 4 programs if you're applying to masters, and then you're going to have to rank your programs in the order that you want the most. And this is really important that you really do so, because you can only be accepted to one program, but you can be on reserve for the programs, for the first program if you don't get accepted to that. So it's important that you rank in a way that the one that you want the most is number 1, and so on and so forth. And then you have to check the required documents that you need to submit, the English test or the upper secondary documents if you're fulfilling the English by your upper secondary studies. And then you have to pay the application fee. So this is a very summarized way to look into the application. It's pretty straightforward. It's not super complicated, but you need to follow the steps and the links at university admissions so you don't get confused, because sometimes you don't know when you have to do each step. So it's important to follow this timeline. Right. Supporting documents. Okay, what it is that I need to submit. Usually, if you're applying for masters, you have to submit the official transcript of records of your academic studies, your previous academic studies from your bachelor's. And if you have another master's, you can also submit those. You have to submit a diploma or a certificate saying that you have concluded your studies. And if you are in the last year of your bachelor studies, you need to submit a statement of enrollment, which basically means that you are registered for the last year of your bachelor's, and it has to be an official document from your home university. And then you need to submit a passport page copy. And this is how we are going to verify your citizenship to decide if you need to pay application fee and tuition fee or not. And also is a way for us to verify your identity. And then you need to submit proof of English proficiency, right? And then there are additional documents that might be possible, that there is a requirement for additional documents. depending on the program that you are applying. So there might be that if you're applying, for instance, to any program within the design school at Umeå University, you're going to need to submit a portfolio and a letter of motivation. So what is required as additional documents will always be stated at the program's webpage. So if it doesn't say that you need to submit a CV, you don't need to submit a CV. If it doesn't say if you need to submit a letter of motivation or a letter of intent, you don't need to submit that. But so always double check what is required of you at the program's webpage, all right? Only submit if it's requested, because even if you submit a letter of motivation and we are not requiring this for the selection, we are not going to take in consideration. So we only take in consideration the documents that are required, right? When it comes to tuition fee exemption, you need to upload supporting documentation about it, which is basically a proof of your citizenship. Or if you are within one of the exceptions of paying a tuition fee, then you will need to submit documentation about that too. All right. What are the most common mistakes that people do when they're thinking and putting together their documentation and submitting it? That people submit, for instance, uncertified copies, black and white copies. So always scan your document front and verse, and always in color, right? You're gonna have to submit PDF of your document, so it's quite okay if you take pictures or scan, but it has to be in color. If you submit uncertified translations, for instance, if you are in the category of or if your previous studies has documents that need to be translated, you need to have certified translations, which means that is done by a certified translator, right? So you cannot translate it yourself. But if your university officially issues these documents in English or in Swedish, which I don't think will be the case, but in English is quite common, then we will accept that. But it has to be official documents from your home university. Sometimes people forget to submit a diploma or proof of ongoing studies. This is also a common mistake. Or if you incorrectly submit your documentations. For instance, people coming from the US, they cannot just upload their documents. They need to send their documents in a specific way. So it's important that you check university admissions to see how you need to submit your documents. The most common way is that you just upload your documents, but depending from where your previous studies are, you need to pay attention to if there is any exception to the rule, right? And then people forget to submit the proof of English proficiency. So sometimes I come across situations where students, they verify, they say, okay, I come from the US, and then I check the university admissions, and then, okay, I fulfill the English proficiency requirements by my upper secondary school. And they forget to submit those documents. So it's really important that you compile and then that you separate all the documents and submit them in a correct way. Right. Important web pages. Here is a list of 4 important web pages, being the main web page that is not Umeå University, and university admissions are the main ones that you're going to find all the information about the application process, what you need to submit, when you need to submit. If you have any questions, you can always turn to their help desk to see if you are missing anything. But there are also the website Sweden Abroad, which has quite useful information as well, and Studying Sweden, of course. It's also important that you take a look in there. Right. I don't know if I should go on, but I could talk a little bit about living costs. A lot of people ask us about living costs, and this is also an information that is in the Umeå student guide. This is an example of what your living costs could look like in Swedish crowns. So about 2,700 for food and 4,700 for accommodation and so on. And this is an estimate done also by the migration board, right? The migration office requires that you show that you have this much funding to be able to support yourself. So you should be counting with about 10,314, perhaps a little more. That will be the sum that you need to show to the Swedish Migration Agency when you apply for your resident permit. And if you don't need to apply for a resident permit, you should be counting on those living costs as well, right? Work and studies. A lot of people ask us, oh, but can I work while I'm studying and so on? Yes, you can. There are no restrictions about working while you have your studies. But we strongly recommend that you have your living costs and then your tuition already funded, because it could be like an extra help, but don't count on finding a job to be able to sustain yourself here, because it might be difficult to find a job. But you can work. There are a lot of students that do so. A lot of students that try to work also at the university. We have some jobs for students, especially during the summer. They are listed in our job session at umeuniversity.se, umu.se, sorry. But don't count on it as a means to survive. We want to be really straightforward with this, because it might be difficult to get a job, right?
Yeah, right, Francine.
And you should be also focusing on your studies.
Yes, so we're having the last slide here before you can go on and show the web pages.
Yes.
This is our info center where you can email any question about anything, basically.
Exactly.
And there's also a contact form, which has the same function, so you can send in a question. Great, so I will stop sharing now, and you can show our prospective students how our web pages are working.
Yes, of course. Let me just see where I can share it. Just a second. So in the meantime, while I'm opening my webpage here, do you guys have any questions for us? No questions?
Yes, there is a question coming in. Is the first round of admissions only for people outside of EU? I'm from Ireland, so can I apply now, or do I have to wait for the next round?
You can absolutely apply now, and we strongly recommend that you do that, because then you have maybe 2 chances to apply, and you get the selection results before the second admission rounds it's finished. So yes, apply now if you have all the documents and everything that you need. The only exception is when if you're applying for a bachelor's program, then you should be waiting until the next admission round, the second admission round, because then it will probably mean that you haven't finished your high school yet. I just have a question, Petra. It doesn't seem like I can share my screen.
It doesn't?
No, I don't see anywhere where I can do that.
Maybe whilst you guys sort that out, I can just reiterate that it's really, really important that students from outside the EU and EEA apply in the first admissions round. So you will not manage to get a residence permit if you apply in the second round. That's meant for EU citizens or Swedish citizens. So
Exactly.
it's super important if you
Yeah.
are a tuition fee paying student that you apply in the first admissions round.
Exactly. So the second admission round is recommended only for EU, EEA citizens and people that don't need a resident permit, because otherwise you won't have enough time. Very good, Gwen. Thank you, Petra.
Okay, so what we do is that I share screen instead of putting time trying to fix this, and you tell me what I should show.
Yes, I would first go to, since you are at study at Umeå University, you can see at this webpage all the links that we published on the chat. And also make sure that you save the chat, because then you have all those links saved. I think you are able to do so. But you can see that you can chat with our students. You can check all of our master's programs. Yeah, this is like the print screen that we had over there. Oops. And then another thing that I would strongly recommend from this first web page, you see there is a session that says difficult to choose. If you click there, this is a link to our general study guidance unit at Umeå University. And of course, you can book a meeting with our study counselors. It's totally free of charge. If you have problems or if you have questions about both the application programs, the application process, or our programs or eligibility criteria. So for any question that is related to studies, you can contact them, and you can see that we have a digital drop-in. You can contact them through telephone hours. Or if you happen to be in Umeå already, you can drop in our campus. But you can book a digital meeting or a telephone meeting, or just go to the digital drop-in. That would be my recommendation. Again, it's totally free of charge. And then you can see there are links to scholarships, accommodation, so everything that we covered so far. And there is a commonly asked questions as well that you could click on there. Wait. Yeah, now I found my share. Now it appears, Petra. I can take over.
Okay, great.
Yes, that's great. Do you guys see my screen? Are you seeing now?
Now, yes.
Yes, that's perfect. I'm sorry for the delay. Okay, so that was Umeå University's webpage that Petra, I'll just bring this out of my desktop. Okay, the next webpage that we will go is universityadmissions.se. And here you can see this is the main application portal that I talked about, and is really important. Remember that I told you guys about the path to applying to masters and applying to bachelors. So those are those paths. So if you click on apply to master, you have a compilation of different instructions here. How to log into the university admissions, how to search for courses and programs, how to rank your selection, and how to provide application documents. And here is where you're going to find out what you need to submit. And this is the main part, the country instructions. So this country instructions, they're not based on your citizenship. They're based on your country of study. So if you're applying for bachelor's, you should be looking at information about the country that you have been studying your upper secondary school. And if you're applying for master's, you should be looking at the countries that you have been studying your bachelor's. Right, so I come from Brazil, just to give you an example, and then I click there on Brazil. And then there will be, here I am at apply to masters, there will be a list of information of what I need to submit and how. For the general documentation that is required, and also if I need translations, and how the documents should be presented, and what happens with incomplete documentation. So if you just follow that, and if here you can see English language requirements, this is always going to take you to this page. And then the 3 steps that I told you about, just checking if you're eligible in English, right? And when it comes to upper secondary studies, then you're going to need to find out if your country of studies will give you eligibility for English. And then don't be confused, because this is going to take you back to apply to bachelor's, because it's where this information is. But even if you're applying to master's, if you click on English requirements, it's going to take you here if you are thinking about upper secondary studies. All right. Important dates and deadlines. Again, first admission round for people from outside of EU, EEA, and Switzerland. And if you are from EU, EEA, and Switzerland, you can apply also in the first application round, but also in the second. Okay. Okay, guys, you could remind me which other web pages that you want if you have questions about Umeå University. I was thinking that I will show you the subject areas. So what I did is just like I am at Umeå University, umu.se in English, and then I just click on education. And here you'll find filtered already by our master's programs and our bachelor programs. But you can also search here. And if you just click on search, you will have other filters that you could be choosing. So for instance, if I choose master's level, and then I want something within economics, law, business, and administration, and then I want a program, and then there will be a list filtered by those criteria here. Well, if I, for instance, take one of those programs, you will see that all of the programs are divided and explained in a certain way. So there will be a structure about, tells you a little bit about the programs, what are the highlights, what happens in the first year, a little bit about the structure of the program, if there is possibility to internship, to study abroad, and so on. And here you can see which subjects or which courses you're going to be studying at the program. And then if you continue to read the information, you will come to this area where the application and eligibility information is. And remember that I told you that there is always specific about what it is required of you. And here is where you're gonna find the specific entry requirements, right? So for this specific program, you need a bachelor's degree from an internationally recognized university. And then there are special requirements of 75 credits in business administration at a basic level, and so on and so forth.
Francine, can I say
Yes?
something?
Oh.
The program you clicked now was one for autumn 2024. So the apply bottom is not going to be on this one.
It's not at the end of this one.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so maybe you can take the second one. Yeah.
I'll take crisis management and peace building. You see, there will be an apply now button here that you can click, and then there's also kind of the same structure. And then you will see the entry requirements. And it's important, it was good that I made that mistake, because then you can see that you always double check if you are in the right semester, right? Autumn term 2025. And then you can see that only the first application round is, admission round is open. And then if you click here, it will take you straight to university admissions. And then you can start from there again and make your application. Right. What else is important to highlight when we navigate the web page?
Francine, sorry, I
yes.
just shared a link in the chat of the Umeå University webpage for general entry requirements. So I think it might be good to go through that just to show where they find that information.
Okay, I'll just bring the link that you posted in the chat. And then we look at it. You're talking about this one?
Yes, that one.
Yes. So entry requirements. Yeah, here is also like summarized what you need for basic eligibility, for eligibility to master's programs, what happens with specific requirements and English proficiency. And then there are country-specific instructions. And what is within this explanation here, you always find links to university admissions. So either if you start looking on entry requirements and how to apply at university admissions, you can always come back to Umeå University's webpage and vice versa. What happens if you're in the final year of your undergraduate studies? There will be a link here as well that you can see. What do you need to do? University admissions has provided, they put together, let me just bring here. They have provided a form. You're not obliged to use this form if you're in the final year of your bachelor studies, but you can use that. It's just a way to help your home university with the information that we need. But some universities, they have a standard document for that, so that would also be accepted. All right. If I go back here, this is where, remember, all the links to the application process, all the steps, and then this is where you get the information about ranking your selection, which is also important. Remember that Gwen told you about applying for scholarships. And when she mentioned, oh, you need to have Umeå University as your first priority, it means that if you're applying for other programs at other Swedish universities, in order to be eligible to our scholarships, you need to have Umeå University as your number one, right? And there's information about how many selections you can make if you're applying for a master's and if you're applying for a bachelor's. So, let me see if there is anything else. Any other questions?
There are no more questions at the moment.
All right.
But I think it was a great presentation, Francine.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, Gwen, you've been on many webinars as well. Do you have any questions for Francine that you know that a lot of students ask about?
Oh, I think the biggest question is why would you choose Umeå University?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, so many reasons. We heard a lot of reasons already from our students. They're currently here, and a lot of those reasons we also hear from other students. And it's not unexpected that we do have the world's most satisfied international students. It's a great university. It's very how do you say, inclusive. It's very international. Students have a great time, both socially and academically, I would say. I'm an ex-student myself, so I'm an alumn from Umeå University, and I can confirm all of this because I did have a great time while I was studying here, so much so that I decided to stay and nowadays I work for Umeå University, but it was in a big way connected to how my experience here has been as a student.
I can only add to that. I came here as an exchange student, and then I came back to do a master's, and now I work at the international office. So I think that's proof enough that this is an incredible environment.
Okay, I think I'll stop sharing the screen so you guys can see us. Yeah. There are a lot of expectations. A lot of students, they ask about the code. It's one of the main questions we get, right? When I think you also were, everybody was worried about this at the beginning. It's just like, it's a mix of excitement and fear and not knowing how code is going to be. But I gotta tell you guys, it's all about the layers. When you are here, you're gonna find out. Tell me about it, Noah. Isn't it all about the layers?
Yeah, it's really, if you have those underpants that you usually wear when you go skiing under like your jeans or something, it honestly helps a lot. Also, have some fur in your shoes, woolen socks, and wool sweaters and stuff. And honestly, there's not such a big difference between -20 and -30, to be honest. So if you have those, you can like you can go out at any temperature. There's no problem.
Exactly.
That's great.
How is the saying in Sweden, Petra?
There's no bad weather, only, it's about the way you dress. It's always about that. Yeah. And Thomas, are you still here as well?
Yes, I'm still here, yeah.
Yeah. What would you say to prospective students? Why should they study at Umeå University?
Okay, I guess it's more for me about the city. Yes, the university is great. It has a great way of teaching. It's social. And then, as Francine said, it's actually very international. You're going to meet different people from different cultures. You're going to have the body program. So basically, there's ongoing weekly activities where you guys going to meet, going to have some drinks, going to watch some movies. So it's very social, yeah. And then again, almost specifically for me, it's more about its people. So the people are generally nice. You're going to come to a new country, you're going to come to a new city. Maybe you're going to get lost for a moment. You would like to ask some questions. So the people here are generally very nice. They're going to help you all the way around. So that's a nice thing about this city. And then again, yes, the university itself is such a beautiful place to be. Yeah.
Yeah,
great,
totally
thank you.
agree. Another thing, if you are in Madrid on November the 18th, we are participating in a fair. So you have the opportunity to come and meet me over there and a student, hopefully, that we can talk more about Umeå University, our programs. If you have questions about a specific program, you can talk to me about it. And also, don't hesitate in getting in touch with our study counselors. They can help you a lot when it comes to the application process and information about the programs.
Yeah, and you get to meet Francine if you go to Madrid.
Yes, I'll be practicing my best Spanish. I'll try to, or Portuñol, as we say.
Yeah, you already know Portuguese, so.
I have to add also, if you are interested in learning Swedish a bit when you come, there are courses that you can take when you're like a pure beginner and an international student. It's over a semester. If you wish to continue, you can. And I think it was very good because I took it, and the professor's very nice, and you learn quite a lot. And I think it's nice to know a bit of the language when you live here. Though you can just know English, people speak overall very good English here. But I think it's nice when you grocery shop to know what you're buying still.
Exactly. And those courses, you will find that they are called Swedish for international students. And you will find it at university admissions. Or through Umeå University's webpage, you just, instead of filtering by program, you filter by courses, and then you can make like write in a keyword Swedish for, and then the course will show up. It's important also to say that if you are a tuition fee paying student, you could take these courses for free. You will not get the credits for the academic credits for the courses, but we offer those courses for free for tuition fee paying students. If you want to have the academic credits, then you probably will have to pay for the course if you also pay for a fee. And if you are from EU, EEA, or Switzerland, or any other exception to the tuition fee, you can take those courses for free. So apply to them when you apply for your programs as well.
Yes, and to add on to that, Francine, is that we offer for tuition fee paying student the course during the second semester.
Exactly.
So then you will receive information from us about the course.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I just shared the link to it, but the link can also be found from our webpage for tuition fee paying students. So that screenshot I showed with the 4 different web pages, if you scroll down, there's a part there about Swedish for tuition fee paying students.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you. That's great. Okay, so I think we will wrap up now.
Yeah, I just wanted to a point when it comes to learning Swedish. So just yes, you will come here and you will have a chance to learn Swedish on your on your second semester. But I just wanted to say you don't have to be afraid to go and learn by yourself. So I have to say Swedish is a fun language. It's a poetic one, if I have to add. It's easy, and then the grammar is very straightforward. So you don't have to do a lot of math when it comes to Swedish grammar. So please don't be afraid to go learn on YouTube, see some resources on Google. So the language is totally fun. It's not complicated at all. You're going to have a few difficulties, but you're going to manage in time or as the time goes by.
Yes.
Yes. So
I can just, before we wrap up, Petra, I just see that there was a question at the Q&A about transferring to Umeå University. The answer is totally right. You should get in touch with our study guidance. They will be able to help you with that. But what I can say is that it might be possible to transfer, but you still need to apply for the program, right? And then when you get accepted, you could just transfer the credits if you have equivalent courses with us. So get in touch with our study guidance, and they might be able to give you more information about how to do that in a very specific way. All right?
Okay, thanks for adding that. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope, of course, to see you in Umeå soon.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Thank you so
Goodbye.
much.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you for coming.
Good day.